Hi guys, welcome back to RUE MORGUE TV. Executive Editor Andrea Subasati here, and I've got a promo code for you in case you need to beef up your back issue collection of RUE MORGUE magazine. If you use code RMR19 in the shop, you can get 3 back issues of the magazine for the price of just 2. And we're on issue like what? 189 right now. Tons of back issues with great interviews, reviews, all the stuff that you've come to love. So use that promo code, check it out. Don't forget to like and subscribe to RUE MORGUE TV, and we'll see you next time.
Hi, my name is Yasmina, and welcome to the Rewind Zone here on RUE MORGUE TV. And today we're going to be talking about the Dungeon Master. So I'm a huge fan of horror anthologies. The main reason why is because you get multiple movies in one movie. It's awesome. So The Dungeon Master is one of my favorite anthologies, and it came out in 1984. And most anthologies kind of run between 2 and 5 segments, maybe sometimes 6. The Dungeon Master has 7 segments. Yeah, 7. So the beginning of The Dungeon Master opens with a dream sequence, and an 80s horror movie is never fully complete without boobs. So he wakes up in his apartment, he lives with his girlfriend and his computer. So Paul's computer is a woman's voice, and he talks to it, and it's also connected to his glasses and his watch. So I'm pretty sure the Dungeon Master invented Apple Watches, because he can actually communicate with the computer at home, like through his watch, and his glasses can make him see digital versions of what he's looking at. Paul encounters Mistima, who is played by Richard Mole, and he's an evil sorcerer, and he makes him jump through these different dimensions, and he's got to fight monsters and creatures in order to save his girlfriend Gwen, and each dimension is a segment in the anthology that are all directed by different directors. And Mistima allows him to use his little Apple Watch thingy, but it looks different. He gives him this whole spacesuit outfit, and his wristband shoots lasers. So that's how he fights, with lasers. The first segment is called The Ice Gallery, and it's directed by Rosemary Turco, and she's only directed this in another movie called Scarred. So basically, Paul goes into this ice gallery. It's like a cave. There's lots of caves in this movie. And it's filled with a bunch of frozen people from history. Like there's Einstein, Jack the Ripper, Bloody Mary, and all of a sudden, Mistima decides to crank the heat. So then all these frozen people start to melt, and then he has to fight them all. And so yeah, he eventually fights them all, and then he goes back to the desert to meet up with Richard Mole, and he's just like, that's not good enough. Next segment. The second segment is my second favorite segment, and it's called Demons of the Dead, and it's directed by John Carl Buechler, who just recently passed away. And I was really saddened to hear of his death, because in the horror community, he's known for his work for special effects, but he also directed my favorite Friday the 13th movie, Part 7. So this one takes place in a cave. And there are zombies, and because John Carl Buechler did the special effects as well, the zombies look so beautifully decayed and rotten. And there's one part where Paul decapitates one of the zombies, and then lasers shoot out of the zombie's neck, and then his head grows back. Sorry. And another thing that I love about this segment is that it's, you can clearly see that there is other puppets from his other movies that they reused for this, like Troll. You can definitely see the same characters from like Ghoulies in this segment. And so there's like this little imp, and he sits on a giant chair, and he's like the caretaker, and he can like control the zombies, and he's clearly from Troll. Like you can see him in Troll, and it's pretty awesome. My only thing about this segment though is that it's way too short. So I wish it was longer because we all love JCB's special effects. The third segment is my favorite segment. It's called Heavy Metal, and it's directed by Charles Band, and it's basically a music video for the song Tormentor by the band Wasp. And I fucking love Wasp. Everything about this segment is the epitome of 80s metal. It's amazing. It's got fishnets, studs, big crimped hair, muscle dudes in the crowd, and Blackie Lawless being Blackie Lawless. Like there's one scene where he hits Paul with his bass and like lasers, of course lasers shoot out of Blackie Lawless's bass, and it's just hilarious how menacing he always is. It's just funny. You're just hilarious, Blackie Lawless, but I love you. Okay, so the fourth segment is called Stone Canyon Giant, and it's directed by David Allen, who also directed Puppet Master 2, but he's actually also a special effects guy who specializes in stop motion. Like he worked on Ghoulies, Subspecies, Willow, Q, The Winged Serpent, The Stuff, and I'm a big fan of stop motion. I'm not talking like good stop motion, like Nightmare Before Christmas. Like I'm talking like bad stop motion, like The Beast and Winter Beast. Can you tell I like beasts? So there's this giant statue. It comes to life and it tries to stomp over Paul, and he fights it off with, as you can guess, lasers. And Phil Fondacaro is in this segment, and who doesn't love Phil Fondacaro?
You never know when you gotta put it all on the line in this job. You know what I mean?
Okay, so the fifth segment is called Slasher, and it's directed by Stephen Ford, and this is his only directing credit. He's more of an actor. He was in Starship Troopers, Contact, Carrie 2, but this segment was actually written by Jeffrey Byron. So basically, Paul wakes up in an alley, and there's like dead hookers everywhere, and then the cops show up, and they think that he murdered the hookers, and so they arrest him, and somehow manages to get out of the cop car. I'm not going to say it had anything to do with lasers, but he then has to save Gwen from the actual murderer in a dance studio. I'd have to say that this one is like not my favorite segment, but I do appreciate that Jeffrey Byron wrote it. I mean, he is Metal Storm Jaredson, so he's pretty cool, I guess. The sixth segment is called Cave Beast, and it's directed by Peter Menuigan, who is another Full Moon guy. He also directed Arena, which is a really fun movie, Eliminators, Seed People, which is a really slimy movie, and this one takes place in another cave. It's probably the same cave, and there's this beast, and they throw rocks at each other for like a few minutes, and then the beast like turns into this like woman all in white, and she's got wings, so I guess she's an angel, and then she tells him something that's like could have been of value prior to the movie, but it's like a Wizard of Oz moment where she's just like, you had it in you all along, and it's just like, well, fuck me then. And then she disappears, like, I don't know, she like morphs into like blue lasers or something, and then she goes away. So this segment is not the greatest, but I do appreciate beasts. So it's got that.
You didn't listen. You would have won by simply walking out of the cave.
I didn't know.
We're at the final segment, so the 7th segment. This one is called Desert Pursuit, and it's directed by Ted Niccolo. And Ted Niccolo is another Full Moon guy, and he directed Terror Vision, Subspecies, Bad Channels, and this one is the Mad Max segment of the movie, and I would say it's probably the action segment of the movie as well. So as you can guess, it's basically just a car chase in the desert. And my favorite fact about this segment is the fact that they reused the same cars from Metal Storm. They just like painted them different colors. So yeah, it's a fun action-y segment, and it's basically just the car chase, you know, with lasers. So that takes us now to the epic final battle between Paul and Richard Mole, and it's pretty awesome. It's got faces and fire, it's got green fog, lasers, and basically after the movie ends, you want more, and then you look up on the internet and you're just like, oh wait, what's this? There was actually a sequel that was made, but it was never released. So there was a sequel that was made as a segment to another anthology movie called Pulse Pounders. And this was made when Empire Pictures went bankrupt before Charles Band started Full Moon. And so it was shelved for all these years. And so Pulse Pounders is an anthology that involves 3 half-an-hour segments, and one is a sequel to The Dungeon Master, and one is a sequel to Trancers, which I'm a huge fan of, and the other is a Lovecraft movie that has Barbara Crampton, Jeffrey Combs, and David Gale in it. So for the longest time ever, no one ever saw this, and finally in like 2005 or something, somebody digitally restored the Lovecraft one, and they played it like at a Comic-Con or something, and once, and like that's it. And then somebody digitally restored the Trancers one, and then they released it on DVD and called it Trancers like City of Lost Angels or something like that. But the Dungeon Master sequel is still nowhere to be found. Nobody wants to digitally restore it. I need to see this movie. The fact that they've never released this makes me so sad. So if Charles Band, if you're watching this and listening, can you please release Pulse Pounders? Because I'm sure I'm not the only one that wants to own and watch this movie.
Pulse Pounders.
So there you have it. That's The Dungeon Master. It's an epic 7-segment anthology. It's got cartoon dragons, it's got Richard Mole, it's got Blackie Lawless, it's got beasts, it's got lasers. I mean, like, what's not to love? If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Go home, watch The Dungeon Master, listen to Wasp, and don't forget, be kind, rewind, or else Blackie Lawless will come get you. Was that okay?